Dad, remember that gymnastics routine from yesterday? The one with the bride who stripped off all her clothes. The atmosphere in the wedding reception hall went dead silent at my daughter's words. Just as the bride was about to read a letter to her parents, 5-year-old Tina blurted it out. The bride's face turned to stone, and Luke, who was holding Tina on his lap, looked like he'd seen a ghost. As the eyes of everyone in the hall turned towards our table, Tina continued, "Why would she undress if it wasn't bath time? You'll catch a cold if you undress anywhere other than the bathroom." To a child, it might be an innocent question, but adults instantly understood the implication. The hall couldn't settle down. The murmur was still there. Luke took Tina outside, and the female host, although shaken, tried to continue the ceremony. Encouraged by the host, the bride tried to resume reading her letter, but her voice was clearly trembling. Usually, you'd hear sniffling and see tears of emotion filling the hall, but not a sound could be heard. Tina's comment had turned what should have been a joyous event into complete chaos. "I'm Bianca, 33 years old, and I live with Luke and our 5-year-old daughter Tina. Luke has a brother who got married a bit late at 40 to a much younger woman, who's 28. Finally, they decided to tie the knot. At the family meeting about the engagement, my brother-in-law seemed utterly smitten with his fiancée. It was really heartwarming to see. Who could have thought that attending my brother-in-law's wedding as a family of 3 would lead to such a disaster?" Naturally, after the wedding reception ended, the bridal suite turned into a scene of chaos. I immediately confronted Luke. "What was that all about?" "That's just Tina being Tina. Don't take it seriously," he replied. "Our kid just disrupted the whole ceremony. Of course I'm rattled. And it's your lack of discipline that led to this. You need to teach her better manners." Luke then quickly handed Tina over to me and left in a hurry. I felt like he was running away from me. We were staying at Luke's parents' house that night before the wedding because it took place at a hotel near his hometown, and we live far away. His parents are genuinely kind people. They always have my back. Unlike some of my friends who dislike going to their in-laws, I've never felt uncomfortable there. That's why we had planned to take a week-long vacation around the time of the wedding and relax at Luke's parents' house before heading home. Even though both my brother-in-law and sister-in-law are planning on living in that house, it's spacious enough to accommodate us comfortably. Tina, who's usually told not to run around in our cramped apartment, seemed excited and restless, walking all over the house to explore. Come to think of it, I recall Luke and my sister-in-law being absent for a bit last night when we were having a good time drinking with my brother-in-law and parents-in-law. Mom, Dad's playing around. Tina wants to join in too. I feel like Tina did say something like that. Who would have thought that what she was referring to was Luke and my sister-in-law cheating in the bridal suite? My brother-in-law and sister-in-law spent a long time talking. Eventually, we decided to head to the after-party. Our friends were waiting for us at the after-party, but Tina and I ended up going back to my parents-in-law's house. If what Tina said is true, I am so sorry. My mother-in-law kept apologizing, looking genuinely regretful as we left the hall. Please stop. Luke is the one who's at fault here. But even though you've done nothing wrong, it's my fault for not properly teaching him how to treat women. No family could possibly teach that level of decency. When we arrived at my parents-in-law's home, Luke was already back, sitting alone, watching TV, and drinking a beer. Standing tall, my mother-in-law broke the ice. "So, what kind of gymnastics are we talking about? I'd love to see it." "That's not it. I was just asking my future sister-in-law to look after my brother." "What a considerate younger brother you are, but I can't imagine Tina lying. She's only 5 years old, and she often says strange things. Tina is my granddaughter, and she's very bright. So, you're taking the word of a bad girl over your own son. Don't you dare call my precious granddaughter a bad girl." "Are you getting mad?" Both my mother-in-law and I had our suspicions about Luke, but we couldn't push it further based solely on the word of a 5-year-old. Luke wouldn't admit anything. He just went into a sulk and locked himself in his room. 2 days after the wedding, both my mother-in-law and I kept an eye on Luke, but he didn't do anything suspicious. Well, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law went off on their honeymoon, so it's not like he had a chance to be suspicious anyway. Meanwhile, Tina, ever the little explorer around the house, found something unbelievable. "Mommy, what does this say?" Tina can't read cursive yet. "You shouldn't be going through Grandma and Grandpa's stuff." "No, it wasn't like that. I found this in Dad's bag." "Is it a letter?" Tina has written to her friends at preschool before. "Let me see." Shockingly, it was a letter from my sister-in-law to Luke. "No, Calling it a letter doesn't quite do it justice. It was undeniably a love letter. The letter read, "Dear Luke, the day before the wedding was so exciting, wasn't it? We have to be cautious for a while since we're being watched at home, but we'll definitely have a chance, so don't give up. You're the only one I love, Luke. The reason I married an older man is so I could be with you. Come get me soon." I couldn't let myself break down in front of Tina, so I forced myself to keep my composure. "This is a work-related letter, so Mom will take care of it, okay?" "Okay," Tina replied cheerfully, heading off on another household adventure. So Tina wasn't mistaken after all. She really did see what was happening. I calmly took a photo of the letter and placed it back into Luke's bag. Then I went to the kitchen where my mother-in-law was making pickles. "Mother-in-law, Tina found a love letter that sister-in-law sent to Luke." "What?" As I showed her the photo of the letter on my phone, my mother-in-law's face fell. "What is this? It's disturbing. This is unfair to brother-in-law. Why have such a flashy wedding if this is going on? If she didn't love him, why did she marry him?" My mother-in-law was visibly angry, her face turning red. At this point, I decided to tell her something that had been bothering me. "Luke said he has to go back alone tomorrow because work suddenly came up, even though he was supposed to be on vacation." My mother-in-law looked up at me, deep in thought. "Doesn't that seem odd?" "Exactly." My mother-in-law and I exchanged glances, both of us seemingly concerned about the same thing. "The timing is just too perfect. Plus his brother and his wife are on their honeymoon in Hawaii. Do you think they're planning to meet up there?" I nodded in agreement. I hate to say it, but brother-in-law is a very kind person who is unfortunately a bit naive and easily deceived. There is no doubt in my mind that the two of them plan to have a secret meeting without brother-in-law noticing. After all the trouble to finally get married, he ends up with a woman like that. It's even sadder because they seem so happy. "Let's go with that." Mother-in-law suddenly stood up and began washing her hands. "All right, start packing for Hawaii. Your father's coming too." "What?" I was genuinely surprised by mother-in-law's sudden declaration, but she looked at me and smiled, clearly pleased. "We're going to expose everything. Do they have any idea how much we spent on that wedding? Just because he's marrying a younger woman, we even chipped in 30 grand. This is no joke. We're definitely getting that back." I couldn't help but applaud mother-in-law's determination and immediately started to prepare as well. For some reason, mother-in-law seemed strangely excited, and deep down, I was excited too. Just wait, we'll make them wish they were never born. The next morning, Luke was having breakfast, trying too hard to keep a straight face. "It's really a shame you have to work after finally getting some time off. Just relax and enjoy your time." Even though no one was listening, Luke loudly announced his departure, then left in a flurry. We quickly packed our bags, our parents-in-law, Tina, and I left about 2 hours later. Luckily, we got the tickets and a hotel with no issue. Tina was thrilled, shouting and playing. We chose a lodging spot a bit away from the hotel where we heard brother-in-law would be staying, so we wouldn't attract attention. Upon arrival, mother-in-law decided to call brother-in-law to see how things were going. "How's Hawaii?" Responding to mother-in-law, brother-in-law's relaxed voice came through the speakerphone. "It's warm and relaxing. We're planning to go to Sea Life Park, Hawaii tomorrow. Look forward to some souvenirs." Brother-in-law seemed to be having a great time but mentioned, "Well, my wife is going out to dinner with a friend who lives in Oahu tonight, so I'll be alone." Hearing that, mother-in-law lifted her gaze and exchanged glances with me. No doubt Luke and sister-in-law are probably having a secret meeting tonight. Well, enjoy Hawaii. Mother-in-law decided to hang up, perhaps concluding that now was not the time to say anything. It's sad for brother-in-law who is in the dark about all of this. Who would have thought we'd catch Luke and sister-in-law on a date as soon as we landed? Though we have valuable information, my emotions were a mess. I wished it were a lie. I wished it were just sister-in-law's one-sided affection, but Luke had followed her all the way to Hawaii. Ignoring this wasn't an option anymore. After discussing with my parents-in-law, we decided that father-in-law, who could blend in the most, should tail sister-in-law as she left the hotel for her date tonight. Father-in-law put on a hat and a mask, transforming into an unnoticeable passerby in seconds. "Way to go, Dad. You're completely unnoticeable." Tina added. "Grandpa is sus." She was delighted whether he was being praised or teased. Easily influenced by mother-in-law's words, father-in-law decided to stake out at a cafe in front of the hotel where brother-in-law and his group were staying. Hun, your mission is threefold. 1. Follow daughter-in-law as she leaves the hotel. 2. Confirm she's meeting with Luke. And 3. Keep an eye on her until she enters and leaves another hotel. Got it? Father-in-law nodded earnestly at mother-in-law's forceful instructions. Equipped with his high-sensitivity DSLR camera and a big telephoto lens that he bought as a hobby, he headed out. We were incredibly grateful to father-in-law, who willingly took on the task despite the long hours it would entail. Mother-in-law, Tina, and I finished dinner and returned to the hotel. After putting Tina to bed, we waited for father-in-law's return. Surprisingly, father-in-law didn't come back until 3 o'clock in the morning. "Let me sleep for now," he muttered as he crawled into bed, looking exhausted. So we decided to hear the full story the next morning. The next day, as we looked at the photos father-in-law had taken while listening to his account, there was irrefutable evidence. True to his love for photography, father-in-law's shots were incredibly detailed. Even from a distance, you could see the two of them embracing clearly. "So she really is cheating after all," I said, feeling the weight of the truth. It was a hard truth to accept for brother-in-law and me, but living a lie in a marriage was not an option. Seeing my downcast mood, mother-in-law asserted we should put an end to this difficult time as soon as possible. I couldn't agree more. On the second day, we learned that brother-in-law planned to go to Sea Life Park, Hawaii, so we decided to rent a car and follow him there. Inside the park, we left Tina with father-in-law while mother-in-law and I walked around. Soon enough, we spotted brother-in-law and his wife. Brother-in-law was genuinely interested in the aquarium displays, while sister-in-law was glued to her phone, showing zero interest in the aquatic life. Just as we were about to approach them, mother-in-law's phone rang. Apparently, father-in-law had spotted Luke coming out of the restroom. They're probably planning to meet discreetly here as well without my son noticing. You're probably right. Let's wait for that moment. We kept our distance and waited for sister-in-law to make a move. As expected, within 10 minutes, she left brother-in-law, who was busy looking at souvenirs, and started walking somewhere. We discreetly followed her to a less crowded exhibit area. When she found Luke, she immediately leaped into his arms and hugged him. Seeing this without any regard for others, something inside me broke. I couldn't hold back any longer. I marched up to the embracing couple and pulled them apart. Luke was shocked, his eyes wide open at my sudden appearance. I unleashed several slaps on him right then and there. Ow, stop it. I honestly don't remember how many times I hit him. I hit him before mother-in-law stopped me. She grabbed sister-in-law, who tried to escape when we showed up. "How dare you deceive my precious son? Sit down." Frustrated, Luke and sister-in-law sat down on the floor. To avoid causing a scene, we moved to the rental car. Brother-in-law was already in the car, looking sad. It seemed he'd heard about what happened from father-in-law. In the minivan, we pushed Luke and sister-in-law into the farthest back row while mother-in-law and I sat in the second row to block their exit. "When did you start cheating?" I demanded. "I'm not cheating or anything. Why are you all even in Hawaii?" Luke retorted. "What about you? Why are you here?" "I'm here for work." "Don't lie, you came chasing after this woman, didn't you?" "It's a coincidence." Even then, Luke still tried to deceive us. So I confronted him with the evidence, photos that father-in-law had taken. "We can see you two were having fun until around 3 o'clock a.m. Father-in-law followed you." Luke sighed heavily. Sister-in-law kept her eyes down and said nothing. "So what Tina said during the wedding reception wasn't a lie, was it? You two were exercising the night before the wedding, weren't you?" "Look, I was in a tough spot too. I was bothered when sister-in-law came on to me. I told her multiple times that I have a loving wife and daughter, so it can't happen, right?" Just then, Luke started to shift all the blame onto sister-in-law, who responded with an incredulous "huh." Grabbing Luke, she yelled, "Who is the one saying leave my brother and be with me?" "No, I never said that," Luke shot back, and their argument began to heat up. Back and forth they went, arguing about who said what. I didn't come to Hawaii to listen to this nonsense. Finally, I couldn't hold back any longer. "Enough. I don't care who initiated it. Why can't you just apologize when you clearly betrayed me and brother-in-law?" "I'm the victim here," Luke insisted. "If you try to dodge responsibility anymore, I'll make your life a living hell." "What are you planning to do?" Let's just say I'll make sure everyone in your social and work circles recognizes you as the fool who slept with his brother's wife. What's the point in doing that? Well, if people aren't warned, you might try to make moves on their wives or girlfriends. I would never do that. You've already done it, haven't you? He had no comeback. Luke fell silent. It turned out that during a family dinner that had doubled as a meeting to sort things out, sister-in-law had developed a liking for Luke. Luke didn't mind the attention and continued a casual relationship with her. Bizarrely, Luke even suggested to sister-in-law, "Why don't you first marry my brother, get a share of his wealth, and then divorce him and marry me?" For some unknown reason, sister-in-law seemed to go along with it. Unbelievable. To be swayed by these two, Luke, who is supposed to be my husband, now looks utterly repulsive to me. "This dirty man is all yours. I don't want him anymore," I said. Sister-in-law, surprisingly pleased with my words, turned to me and smiled. "Really? What was all that fighting about just moments ago? But let me tell you, a man like this will definitely do it again. Cheating outside is one thing, but hitting on a family member is just sick, especially when he falls for a terrible woman like you. There's no cure." Sister-in-law, entirely unfazed by my words, smirked as if she'd won. Is that a cry of defeat? I wondered. Well, do enjoy your few months together then. Even Luke joined in, grabbing sister-in-law's hand and starting to celebrate. What an incredibly cheerful pair they are. "Because of you, I spent $30,000 on a wedding we didn't even need to have. I expect that money back. I'll also be seeking compensation in the divorce proceedings." "I expect $20,000 from each of you," I stated firmly. Hearing my mother-in-law's demand, sister-in-law suddenly shouted, "That's totally unfair." Luke joined in, saying, "As if we can afford that. If you don't pay, we'll go through lawyers and take this to court. If you two can find happiness under a $70,000 debt, be my guests." "This is outrageous. We just love each other a little," Luke protested. "That's precisely the problem. You'll both be held fully responsible for what you did," mother-in-law shot back. Just then, brother-in-law suddenly started moving the rental car. "Where do you think you're going?" I asked. Brother-in-law drove silently and, when he reached a deserted area near the ocean, he took their wallets and cell phones and left them there. I was surprised. I had never seen brother-in-law this angry before. As the rental car pulled away, their cries of "Don't leave us here. Please come back," echoed. "Watch out for snakes and mongooses, okay?" I waved cheerfully as I said this. I wondered how long it would take them to walk back to town from here. I hoped they made it back safely. Just then, I received a call from father-in-law. "Tina is looking for you, Bianca," he said. "We decided to head back to the aquarium. Let's enjoy Hawaii while we're here." "Absolutely," I agreed. We returned to the aquarium. At the large tank, brother-in-law was holding Tina's hand, both engrossed by the sharks. They actually looked happy. Better to see these lovely smiles than waste time on fools. Father-in-law's words lifted my spirits. Brother-in-law also appeared quite relieved, which was surprising considering he was just betrayed by his new wife. I bet he's hurting inside. I know I am, being betrayed by Luke. But I refused to shed tears over them, and I thought brother-in-law must feel the same. Later on, brother-in-law and sister-in-law's divorce was finalized. Only 5 days had passed since the wedding reception, but brother-in-law returned all the wedding gifts to the guests. I also finalized my divorce with Luke, and Tina would now be living with me. I ended up getting all the assets in the divorce settlement, and we agreed on $400 per month for child support. Luke, ever conscious of what others think, easily agreed when my parents-in-law and I, through our lawyers, demanded money from him. He ended up shouldering a $70,000 repayment. But you can't control what people say. Rumors spread easily that he had an affair with his brother's wife and even followed her to Hawaii. Friends began to distance themselves, and even at work, the rumors got around. He got transferred from his high-performance sales team to a basement document storage area. It's been a year now, and I'm still on good terms with my in-laws. Just the other day, while looking through a school backpack catalog with my soon-to-be elementary school daughter, she said, "Grandma will buy it for you." "No, Grandpa will buy it," I teased. "It'll be a lasting joke." The room went silent when Tina said, "Let's settle this with a gymnastics competition."